For nearly 2,000 years, the Passover sacrifice has been a dream, a prayer, but what if I told you it was more than that? What if it's a practical possibility, something that's been meticulously researched and is, halakhically, ready to go? Well, today, we're going to explore that incredible, centuries-long journey to renew the Passover sacrifice, a story that takes us from an ancient vision right to the edge of reality.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the foundational idea that makes this whole conversation possible. Then, we'll trace these moments of longing, these heartbeats, throughout our history. After that, we'll dive into how the major religious barriers were systematically solved, one by one. Then we'll look at where we are today, a state of halachic readiness facing a political barrier. And finally, we'll wrap up by exploring what this all means for us, the powerful educational lesson behind this entire epic story. So, first things first, where does a journey this massive even begin? It all starts with a single foundational halachic principle that honestly changes everything. Now this, right here, is the key that unlocks the whole discussion. It's the core equation, based on Maimonides and other greats, and what it says is absolutely crucial. You can offer sacrifices even without a rebuilt temple. You see, all you technically need is the altar in its proper place, priests ready to do the service, and of course the offering itself. The grand building, essential as it is not a halakhic deal-breaker for this specific mitzvah. This one idea opens the door for everything that follows.
Okay, so let's see how this wasn't just some idea gathering dust in a book. No way. This was a living, breathing dream that pulsed through Jewish history, with real people, in real time, trying to make it happen. And this timeline just perfectly shows what I mean by these historical heartbeats. I mean, from Rabbi Yehoshua ben Hananiah, right after the destruction of the Second Temple, through the Middle Ages, all the way to our modern era, there have been these consistent, serious attempts to turn theory into practice. This was never just about passive waiting. It was an active longing, an active fire that never went out.
And, these attempts were often part of a much bigger debate about the nature of redemption itself. It really boils down to two paths. Do we wait for a purely miraculous event, fire from heaven, what we call derech nes, or do we believe in derech hateva, the natural path, which says that redemption is a gradual process, one that actually requires our effort, our partnership with God? And that brings us to this monumental turning point, Rabbi Zvi Hurst Kalisher. He was a game changer because he took that idea of the natural path and turned it into a full-blown practical Zionist program. He argued so powerfully that settling the land, farming it, and yes, renewing the temple service, these aren't things we just wait for. He said these are essential human-led steps in the redemption process itself.
So this begs the obvious question, right? If the basic halakha is there, and the desire has been there for centuries, and we now have a Zionist framework for action, what was the holdup? What were the tough, practical, halachic problems that still needed to be solved?
So let's get into the nitty-gritty. For generations, Torah scholars have been working on this massive intellectual project, almost like a secret mission, to systematically solve the four biggest halachic challenges to renewing the service. And here they are, the four big ones. Each of these was a mountain to climb. You had to know exactly where the altar goes. You had the massive problem of ritual impurity. You had to be able to identify priests. And you needed to recreate the sacred materials and garments. Each one was a formidable challenge.
Okay, barrier number one, finding the altar's precise location. The solution here is just beautiful. It's this perfect blend of old and new. You've got ancient traditions passed down, historical testimony from giants like the Radbaz who literally pointed to the spot, and modern topographical research. And they all converge on the exact same location. Problem one, solved.
Next up, the impurity paradox. I mean, let's face it, today we're all presumed to be ritually impure, and we don't have the ashes of the red heifer to purify ourselves. So, how could we possibly bring a sacrifice? Well, halacha has this incredible built-in principle, tuma hutra b'tzibor. Basically, it means impurity is set aside for a communal offering. When the entire community is in this state, the public obligation to bring the sacrifice is so powerful it overrides the impurity concern. Problem two, solved.
But what about the priests? How can we be 100% sure of their lineage? Here, the solution relies on another established halakhic principle, kohanim mushsakim. This means that families who have a continuous, unbroken, and publicly recognized tradition of being kohanim Well, that's good enough. We don't need a perfect ancient birth certificate, just this established living tradition. And just like that, problem 3 is solved.
And finally, the sacred materials themselves. This is another one of those amazing points where modern science and ancient law meet. Incredible research has successfully identified the chalazin snail to make this special blue techelet dye. The priestly garments have been woven, the service vessels have been recreated, all of it down to the last detail according to halacha. Problem 4 solved. So think about that. With every single one of the major halachic challenges answered through generations of incredible scholarship, we arrive at the stark, undeniable reality of our time. The blueprint isn't just sketched out, it's complete. And this image just says it all, doesn't it? It's like this intricate, beautiful machine. All the halachic gears are in place, they've been researched, polished, and they're ready to turn together in perfect harmony. But the entire machine is stopped cold by an external, political lock. The lack of full Jewish sovereignty on the Temple Mount is the final barrier. So this is the most crucial point to understand about where we are right now. The nature of the challenge has totally transformed. For centuries, the obstacles were internal. They were questions of Jewish law, research, and debate. Today, with those questions largely answered, the main obstacle is external. It's a geopolitical question of national will and Jewish sovereignty over our holiest site. So, beyond the immediate goal itself, what does this unbelievable 2,000-year saga teach us? What's the educational and spiritual meaning of actively pursuing this, even now, with that final barrier still in place? This dashboard sums it up perfectly. Look at it. It's like the control panel for the whole project. The gauges for the halachic requirements, location, purity, lineage, materials, they're all in the green. The project is theoretically and practically ready. But that final critical gauge, implementation, is still in the red, waiting for the needle to be moved by political and sovereign action. So what are the big lessons, the core values we can take away from all this? First, it hammers home that redemption, Gela, is an active process that requires our participation. It's not a passive event. Second, it shows us that halacha is not some dusty museum of ancient rules. It's a dynamic, living system designed to solve real-world problems. And third, it teaches that our deepest spiritual dreams are meant to be connected to practical, real-world, national action. This whole story forces us to ask ourselves a pretty deep question. How does this quest inform and shape our Zionist identity and purpose today? Which leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. The giants of our past, they did the work. They answered the impossible questions. They cleared the halakhic path. So now, after 2,000 years of striving, the question has fundamentally shifted. It's no longer a distant, theoretical if. It's become an immediate and urgent when. And that is a question that now rests squarely with this generation.